Hello everybody. Let's start with the AI website build. If you have not watched what this project is going to be like, you can watch it in this video right over here. Now we're going to start with the server first, as usual. I'm going to create two folders and I'm going to call the first one a server and the second one is going to be client. So jumping straight to the server, I'm going to control tilde and this is the weird button that looks like this. Let me just go with white color here so you can see it like this, and then we have 1, 2, 3. So pretty much it's the character before 1. So I'm going to list, and you're going to see the two folders that I created. I'm going to go to server, and here I'm going to say npm, and I believe it was actually in it first. So let's actually initialize this. I'm going to go to server. Yeah, everything's all right. Good, and here we have this package JSON opened up, which is going to be main entry point index.js. That is wonderful, and currently we need to create one file, and I'm going to say new file, and I'm going to call this file index.js. So as you can see, this is going to be our main entry point. Good. After that, I'm going to install a couple of things. So we're going to see npm install, and then I'm going to go express. This is what is going to allow me to open up ports, and it's going to allow me to view the API a little bit. I was going to say easier, but I actually don't know any other way with Node.js. So it's not easier, it is just going to allow me to build the API. After that, I'm going to say npm, I'm going to install Mongoose, and this is going to be the database that we're going to be using whenever we're actually creating a person. And after that, if you want to develop your project a little bit more further on your own, you can obviously create a picture, take the pixels, store them in the DB. It's up to you what you want to do. So that's that. We're going to install Mongoose. We can, after that, install, I believe it was called .env. Let me just see. Yeah, all right. So npm install .env. And I think that's it. So let's actually see here the node modules. Let's go to index. I'm going to open up a port. Now I'm going to say const express, and I'm going to say express is going to be equal to our require. And here I'm going to say express over here. I don't know what this thing is here. Can we remove it? No. Okay, good. Then I'm going to go Mongoose, and here on the database is going to be requiring a little work, but it doesn't matter. And there's this glitch over here. Okay, good. We took the Mongoose. And then I'm going to say const env is going to be equal to require dot env. And this is going to be the environment variable. Here I'm going to say the API key, but you're going to see this later. All right, so let's actually start. The first thing I want to do is say const application is going to be equal to express and then brackets. This is going to start the express, and currently I have the ability to say application dot listen, and I'm going to be listening to port 5000, and I'm going to use it like so. This function is going to run after we have opened successfully, and I'm just going to say console log, and here I'm going to say success server started. Good. Now I'm going to list and say node in index. There we go. Boom. As you can see, success server started. And actually, if you open command prompt, I think that you can, what was it? Netstat a. And here, I think that in port 5000, you're going to see, okay, 5000, boom, there you go, listening. All right, very decent, very decent. Good. Now, before I actually do continue, you do know that my logs, I like my logs to be a little bit better. So I'm going to remove these brackets over here. Not brackets, but quotes. And I'm going to put double quotes, just like this. So I just changed the single quotes to double quotes over here and over here. Good. And after that, I'm going to say quotes. Let me just see what was it. I think it was x1b, and then something like this, and then x1b again, if I'm not mistaken. I had to copy this from somewhere. Let's see if this is going to work. All right, good, very good. So as you can see, everything that is actually successful now is going to be painted green. This makes it very easy to see an error. So for example, if I have an error, I'm just going to say error, and my logs are just going to look a little bit better. Boom, there you go. For example, error, server started. And this is obviously not going to be a problem for us. It's going to be a successful story point. So I'm just going to say success, server started, and here you can see this, which is wonderful. All right, good. Now, I've actually opened up a server. I'm not going to attach anything to it. I'm not going to connect to it, really. But before we actually connect, we're not going to do this now, as we said. I need to establish the Mongo database. This is going to be something that's going to be requiring some work. Now, I do have this browser open up over here, and you're going to see that this is actually the DB that we're going to be using. Now, you can go to cloud.mongodb. I do love this for testing purposes. It's actually very easy to set up. All you have to do after you create your own account over here, you are going to go to database and you're going to click on create. So you're going to create a new cluster. In my case, after that, you're going to choose everything is free and then you can go create cluster. Of course, if you want to choose your tiers, I think you can go with higher tiers, but of course, if you want to go high, you have to pay. And currently, I do not see why I do not have a free option, but I believe this is because I already have a cluster. So you cannot have like 2 clusters. I didn't pay anything for this. As you can see, this is my database deployment. It's called net. And if I browse collection over here, you're going to see my 2 collections here, test and items and usage. This test over here, have no idea what this test is. I'm not going to use it, obviously. Oh, actually, I know. I think it is for a Netflix project that I'm preparing. Let me just see real quick. So if I go to browse collections, let me see items. Black stockings for a night out. Oh, no. This is the perfect gray shirt for a date. You know, I just figured out that I sound very, very simp, like a big simp. Black stockings for a night out. And then I have like, do you want to feel more beautiful and be on top of the world? Then these stockings are for you. This is actually a project that I'm preparing. It's going to be a full stack e-commerce project. And here we have photos, we have price, as you can see, we have long description, short description, name, but this is not important. We're not going to use this. We're not going to delete it, obviously. And here I do not know why I see connections. We shouldn't have any connections, probably it's from the other server. So we're not going to do anything with this data over here. We're just going to create a new one. So once you actually have your database, you can click on connect over here and you're going to say connect your application. And here you can actually choose how you want to connect it. Now, this is the URL that you're going to use, but also include full driver code. No, you could actually change the way that your password is going to be handled. I'm not entirely sure why I do not see it now. I think they actually changed it a little bit. Oh, no, not view monitoring. Sorry, no. Connect. I want to connect my application, and then I have this: replace password with the password for the admin user. Ensure any option params are URL encoded. All right. But if for some case you do not have an admin, then 2 dots and password over here, you are using another type of encryption and you have to change that. But currently, I'm trying to find it so I can show you how to change. But I believe that, oh, and there is this free shirt over here. You can see it right over here. It's with wrong color, but right over here you can see that it is free. And I cannot create a new one because obviously you can have only one. All right, well, connect using Mongo Compass, connect your application. All right, well, I guess they remove this. This is what we're going to be using. Good. So let's actually remove this. I'm going to go down over here. And currently I need to create an environment file, and I'm going to say right click over here, new file. I'm going to say .env, and this is going to make it an environment file. And here in the .env, I can type my connection string. So here I can say Mongo connection string. It's going to be equal to this. There we go. And my admin, to be honest, this admin, I'm going to hide this away, but I'm going to put it in an environment file because whenever you're placing it in GitHub, if you're going to have some high security stuff, you're not just going to allow everyone to see your connection string. This is something that you do not want to allow people to do. And most of the people are actually even encrypting their database now. So not only that you cannot enter their DB, but once you enter it, everything is kind of encrypted and you cannot get much info. But yeah, I do not worry if you're going to hack me because there's nothing there. I mean, like literally, there's nothing there. Except the black stockings. I mean, you can kind of delete those, but please do not. Good. So I do have this .env over here. Do you know what I figured out? Do you know what I figured out? I never hide my keys and my passwords. And here I have 11 connections. Like literally, I have 9 connections. I have the YouTube channel for about 9 months now. So are these people using my connection? But here in items, I cannot just, just 12 items. What are the people doing? All right, I don't know. Good. Let's go to database back, and here I'm just going to close this. I don't need it. So our connection string is in here, and obviously your connection string is going to be different if you do not want to use mine. And here I'm going to say OpenAI key, and this is something that is going to be empty for now. I'm going to keep it empty because this key over here is going to be the key that's going to allow you to use the OpenAI models. However, you again need to set an account and you again need to take this key and it's going to be different for you. So we're going to set it together, do not worry. But before that, I do want to see if everything actually works. Now, in order for me to allow my express data to take JSON data and to return JSON data, I need to say application.use, and here I'm going to say express.json. Right? That's something like how do you say this? When you're actually preparing stuff. So this is preparation phase. Let's call it this. And here's going to be, yeah, I'm not going to naming this because I'm not good at naming conventions, obviously. So I'm not going to try. Good. Now we're going to connect to the database. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to say mongoose.connect, and I'm going to try the following: process dot env dot, and I have this Mongo connection string that I'm going to copy just like this, and after that we're going to have this function that's going to run. I'm just going to console log success, and here I have Mongo DB connected. Good. So let's clear node index and let's see. All right, perfect. We have a problem now. DB parameter open URI must be a quote. Must be a quote. What do you mean? I have to have quotes here, like single quotes. No, that's not a problem. Let's see. And DB parameter open URI must be string or undefined. Oh, got undefined. Okay, so this problem means that I cannot take this over here for some reason. Let's see. I need to put Mongo Connect. We do not have this Mongo Connect. Why are you showing it to me? Let's just say first server started successfully. Undefined. There we go. So server is actually started successfully, and then we have undefined. So for some reason we cannot say process.env.mongo. I'm not entirely sure because we actually imported it over here. Oh yeah. Before we actually do that, we need to say env.config. I'm pretty sure this is the problem, and I'm pretty sure that I'm forgetting it all the time. Oh, well, that is kind of embarrassing. That is kind of embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie. And is env found? Control dot export interface dot env parse output. Right, it seems to be working fine. All right, I think I actually know the error here. You're going to see that if I create a .env file, it treats it like a normal file. So for example, .env is here and .kok is actually here. And usually they should be treated as a different file. So something currently is wrong with my Visual Studio Code. You can also see ENV, right? ENV environment, yeah. So something is actually currently wrong. I don't know how to make this, treat this as a special file. Usually they should have something like a gear icon, so something like this. Usually it is looking something like this. And if it's looking like this beautiful icon for you, it's going to work. However, for me, it's not working. I don't know if it's because of the version that I have installed. Here I have 16.03. If you know, let me know in the comments why does this not work. And therefore, I need to resolve it the following way. I'm going to say let, and I'm going to say connection string is going to be equal to this. And here I'm just going to change admin. Now this again is not a good thing to do because you should put it into a file, and when you're throwing it to GitHub or to source control, you should exclude this file. What I can do is I can create a normal file called connection strings here and just read the connection string from here. It's actually not going to be a bad idea. Let's do this. Good. So currently I'm having this connection string.text, and here in the text I'm going to enter my connection string. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it over here, admin, just like this. So it is a simple text file. We do not need to put quotes. We just have this. And currently I'm going to try to actually read it. Let's go to preparation phase, and here express, I'm going to say const read line, and this is going to be equal to require read line, and then I'm going to say const I can say fs is going to be equal to require fs. This is what we're going to be using for file descriptors. Good. Now I'm going to say const that's going to be reader, that's going to be equal to read line dot create interface. And here we're going to say where is our file actually placed. So this is going to be an input, and we're going to say file descriptor dot create read stream. And here in the create read stream, we need to pass the path to our file. In my case, I'm going to click on this file, right click, review in File Explorer. I'm going to copy this path over here. So as you can see, D AI website, and I've opened some help. Some reason, sorry for this. Help with File Explorer. No, I do not need help. Now I'm going to put it over here, and of course, whenever we're working with files, we want these two lines, and the name is connection strings.text. I'm actually going to change it to string because this is where we're going to keep the connection string. So I'm just going to say boom, like that. All right. After that, I'm going to say how much we're going to read. Here is something like CRFL delay, and I'm going to say infinity. Good. So I have this currently. I have the reader. I have to say reader.on. I'm going to read a line, and I'm going to take the line after that and actually console log it. So let's see console.log, and this is the connection string, like so. And here we can even do a little bit of some hacky stuff. This, and I can put line, right? So let's actually not index, and you can see success starting the server, process environment, Mongo connection is not known. So I'm just going to remove it. And this is my connection string right over here. Good. Wonderful. I'm going to stop this now, clear, and here you're going to see that we have the connection string. Now, since I actually read the connection string, I already have it. Now I can say mongoose.connect, and I'm going to pass the string. So I'm going to say line, and after that we're going to have another function that's going to be executed, and this one is going to be logging a successful state. So here I'm just going to copy this. It's going to be 42, not 41, stating a success. And here we're going to have Mongo DB connected.
All right, good. Let's have C node index, and mongoose is not defined. Of course, we deleted it. So let's say const mongoose is going to be equal to require mongoose, and let's run it again. Good. Now, I see success Mongo DB connected. However, mongoose tree option will be switched back to false by default in mongoose. Depreciation warning. Strict query. I don't know what this is. If you want to prepare for this change, or use mongoose.set to suppress this warning. Okay. So there is some depreciation going on here, but I can see that I have connected to my database successfully. If I open up now the database, you're going to see that we have, refresh this. Am I connected? Yes. And I should be having at least one connection over here. But for some reason, if you're monitoring, well, let's go to connections, and you can see currently we have 2 connections at 1650. And I don't know what this time is, but it's stating that it's from now. All right. Logical. This is the logical size of the disks. As you can see, the final thing that we have here are these 2 connections. I don't know why the time is running 2 hours late, but whatever. Let's go back to the database. There you go. As you can see now, this here has 1 connection. Good. At least 1 connection, because I said that we have this connection string, and the people that are watching the videos can connect whenever they like. So good. Good. Now we actually connected the DB, and we are ready to build the models of the database. Let's go to server over here, right click on the server, create new folder, and I'm going to call this folder models. Here we're going to use what type of information are we actually going to store. Now you've seen in the previous database on my browse collections that I have users. I'm using these users in order to log into the site. I'm not going to be able to call this user, right? But you can. I, however, am not able to do that because I do not want to overwrite everything. And that's why I'm just going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this file, let's say it's going to be person or persona, because it's going to be used for logging in. How to use a client person, client. How am I going to call this? I'm very bad at naming. I'm just going to call it person, right? Let's not waste any time. Oops. However, this, sorry about the sound. Let me just remove every single noise that we have. I'm going to call it, we said person.js, right? Person.js. It's not the best name, but it's going to do. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say import mongoose. It's going to be to require. I'm going to say mongoose. There we go. And now I need to create the schema. This is going to be a person schema. It's going to be equal to new mongoose.schema, like so. And here we need to define what we need to acquire in order for us to be a valid user, in our case, a person, and we're going to enter the site. The first thing that I want to do is to have an email. Now, my email should be of type string, should be required, should be max 50 characters, and should be unique. So we do not want multiple people logging in with the same email. Once I actually have this email in the DB, I'm constantly going to check against this email, and if I have something that is already there, I'm not going to allow a new instance of it. That's why when you are creating an account with your email, suddenly you actually see that this email, this account exists. You're not able to create a new account with the same email. After that, we want to say passwords, and the password is going to be of type string. We're going to see what we're going to be encrypting it with. Required is going to be equal to true, and minimum is going to be 6. So we want 6 symbols minimum. After that, I'm going to say that I'm going to keep the timestamps. Let's go to true. And finally, we need to export it in order for us to be able to use it. I'm going to say module.exports, and I'm going to be exporting mongoose mongoose.model, and the model is going to be called person, and I'm going to be using the person schema. There we go. All right, as you can see, we have email, we have password. Whenever you're actually doing something for social media, let's say Facebook, you are going to put, let's say, a profile picture here. You can even put a quote for the person. You can do a lot of different things, but email and password are always going to be constantly what is going to be required for you. Good. We already have the person schema. That's good. Now I'm going to create on the server, and I'm going to create the routes. These are going to be very important since these are going to be our API gateways. Here I'm just going to say routes, and we're going to use two routes. One for OpenAI, so for our model, for our artificial intelligence. So I'm going to call this OpenAI.js, and the next route is going to be for our users. In this case, it's going to be persons.js. So once is going to be entering here when we want to log in, to sign up. And then when we are already into the site, we want to do some stuff with the site, we're going to enter this API gateway. It's pretty simple. All right, let's continue on with our persons. But before that, firstly, I'm going to go to index.js. And since I have already a persons.js, I can say const, I'm going to call it person route. It's going to be equal to require, and we're going to be requiring routes persons.js. There we go. And why did I have so many options here? Routes OpenAI. OpenAI.js. Okay, good. Persons.js. Just like this. We could even just keep persons. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. That's why I was surprised that we have so many stuff. Let's go with persons. Now we're having the person route, and I do want to use this. I'm going to say application.use, not subscribe, and I'm going to use the following. I'm going to say /API/persons, and I'm going to use here our person route. Good. Whenever we actually see a simple HTTP URL, let's say something like, I'm going to put mark over here, and I'm going to put the text over here, and the text is going to be / let's say localhost. I'm going to go give the port. I'm going to say API, and here persons, and here I'm going to say sign up. All right, so something like this. I am going to, oh, that's wonderful. Can I Control Z here? Oh, that's very bad. That's very bad. Okay. I'm very that was very stupid. Anyway, when I actually write this, I'm going to enter over here because it's going to reroute me. Let's see how this is going to work on the person.js class. The first thing that I want to do here is to create a route in order for a router in order for this to be considered as a route. So I'm going to say const router, and here I'm going to say require express. I'm going to say dot, and you guessed it, it's called router. After that, I'm just going to say module dot export, and I'm going to be exporting router. There we go. Very simple, very easy. Now I'm doing this because I need to know that, let's say whenever I have /API/something over here, I'm going to use this person route. And in other words, when I see something like this in the URL, I'm going to retransfer to my person route.js, which is going to be the person.js since we are importing it over here. It's going to be routes persons. I'm going to come to persons, and I'm going to search for the data over here. That's pretty much it, but it's something that needs to be done. In order for us to encrypt and decrypt the password, we're going to use bcrypt. So I'm going to say bcrypt is going to be equal to require, and here I'm going to requiring b. But in order for me to do that, I need to first install it. So I'm just going to npm install, and I'm going to say bcrypt. Good. We are never storing plain passwords in the database or anywhere. That's why I'm just going to encrypt it, and then I'm going to, of course, decrypt it when I'm retrieving it. So I'm going to require bcrypt. Let's see if the IntelliSense, there we go. IntelliSense is working. And I think that this is actually it. Finally, I'm going to say const person is going to be equal to require, and I'm going to be requiring once the back models person, as you can see, this thing over here, person.js. So I'm just going to call this models person. There we go. So this is going to be our database. This is going to be our DB schema. Not sure if I'm writing it actually properly, but you're going to tell me in the comments if I do not. Here we're going to use for encryption, and here we are managing router. Good. All right. Now that is very good. From now on, I'm going to say router because you can see that we're going to be using this router. I'm not allowed to convey my query to something that is not considered to be a router. So I'm going to say router.post, and here we're going to have two things: register and login. That's pretty much it. So that is all that we're going to have. And currently I'm going to say /register. There we go. I'm going to say router post register, and usually you write these controllers over here as a folder, but it is all right. We can do it for now. And how do you actually test your API before we write the whole thing? We're going to use, what was it? I believe Postman. Yeah, let's actually go and see it. All right, so I'll open it up over here, and I think that you need to have something installed. Let me just make it a little bit smaller because you know that I'm having a bigger window than what I'm recording. And here, all you need to do is to click on APIs, or even, I don't think that you need to click anywhere. It's just this plus symbol right over here. And I do have this color again. So it is right over here on the plus, and you're going to see that we have get, post, blah, blah, blah. And here we have our URL. And we can test our stuff. So the way I'm going to test is I'm going to go index.js. I'm going to take the so it's actually localhost. Okay, let's do this. Localhost 5000, and then I'm gonna say /API /persons and then I'm gonna go /register, and I need to finish this. Okay, good. Let me just leave this Postman over here. Click on the Studio stuff. And here I'm just going to say that it's going to be a sync request response. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's going to be everything. I'm even going to console log registering a user ... Let's note install, note index, sorry. Boom, boom. And we need to open up Postman. So this thing over here. Register, it's not a get request, it's rather a post request, so we have to switch this over here. /register /stuff, send, and yeah, there you go. Cannot send request to localhost. So you can actually send to something else, but you cannot send to localhost, and that makes any sense because they cannot find you since you're not doing any port forwarding. And that's why we're gonna say use Postman desktop agent. And I'm going to install this. Leave site, yes, let's leave the site. Install desktop agent, got it. And once it's actually done downloading, I'm going to install it, and then we're going to try it again. So see you in a bit. Okay, we're back. This thing is installed, actually downloaded, so let's install it together. I think the install was actually pretty easy because I do have this in my laptop and I never ended up having problems. But for some reason now, oops. Okay. Let's run it again. I do want to do this while I'm recording because, you know, it's just to... Oh, actually, Postman is running right over here. So I can actually click on it. And now, send. And I'm sending the request. Good. When I ran Postman as an exe over here, it had already been done. And I can see it right over here on the right part of my window. And this is my torrent.
So now you are going to see that we entered this console log registering a user, meaning that we ended up in this post method register. Good. Let's actually clear it and open up Postman again. So here we didn't get any response. Now, this is obviously because we're not sending any response over here. We are going to fix this, but before fixing it, we want to write a registering application. So let's wrap everything on a try catch. I'm going to catch an error over here, and here I'm going to console log an error. I'm going to copy this from the index.js. I'm going to go to persons.js, and the only thing that I'm going to do here is switch up the log a little bit so I can understand what's going on. Now, we're catching an error, meaning that we are not going to have success, rather we're going to have failed. And of course, this is something that I like to do. It's not server started, it is registering a user. I do this so I know the problems, because whenever I actually see something green in the logs, I know that everything had been done correctly. Let's actually clear the console over here, clear. And what I'm going to do is, after I'm catching the error, I'm going to say, and here, if you want to paint it red, you have to switch here, not 42, but rather 41. This is going to be painting it red, as we already saw. Now I'm going to say response.status, and I'm going to put the status to 500, meaning that this is going to be internal server error. And I'm going to say json.error. You're not going to be able to use this JSON unless you placed it over here, application.use express.json. So this is very important. If you follow along, everything is going to be working fine with you. Now, since we are having a problem over here, we're just going to, I can even throw, and I'm not entirely sure if just I can throw something like this. Yeah, I'm not able to throw. So can I throw like a message? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I can throw. Okay, let's go to Postman now. And we are entering the same thing. So it's a post request, localhost 5000 API person register. And now when I actually send, so let me just see here. I'm sending, and you're going to see that I actually returned error, as you can see here, error, right? And this is my throw over here. As you can see here, it is red or reddish. Now looks a little bit pinkish to me. Failed registering a user. And now you actually know that you have a problem here. Good. Let's actually remove this throw and just continue building. I'm going to stop the server, and you always stop and start the server once you actually do something. There is a way around that, but you have to install some packages that are going to rerun the server every single time. Obviously, I do not have them installed, and that is why I'm just stopping the server. As you can see here, I can write in the console now, and I can then say node index. This is going to be running the server. Good. Let's actually clear everything. What are we going to do in the try? First of all, I do want to generate a password. So I'm going to say generating a password. And the way I'm going to generate a password is, first I'm going to create a SOAT, await. I'm going to say await here because bcrypt is asynchronous. I'm going to say bcrypt dot gen SOAT and the length SOAT. After that, I'm going to say crypted pass, and I'm going to await bcrypt.hash, and I'm going to hashing the password. So I'm going to hash the request.body.password, and I'm going to hash it using my SOAT. Good, that's wonderful. Now we already have a crypted password that we are going to store along. Now I'm going to say creating a new user, and here I'm just going to create the new user. In our case, it's not a new user, it's a new person. So let's just go with person. And here I'm going to say const new person. This is going to be equal to our schema, which is going to be person over here. So it's going to be equal to person, actually to new person. And I need to open it like this. So as you can see, new person is going to be equal to our person. And here I'm gonna put email, request.body.email, something like this. And password, you guessed it, is already here, the encrypted password, because we have encrypted it. And I'm just going to say, okay, for the password, you're going to use the encrypted pass. Keep in mind that we're going to store this
in a DB, so store person to database. And whenever we're storing the person to the database, we are going to use the email and the password. Again, we do not want to store the plain text password. So if your password is I love dogs, we're going to store something like this, right? It's going to be hashed. So nobody's going to know that you love dogs. Everyone is going to be thinking that you love cats. Good. Const, and here I'm going to say person saved. It's going to be equal to await, and I'm going to say new person dot save. There we go. And we have already saved this into the DB, and here I'm just going to console log that we have success. Of course, in order for me to paint it green, I need to put 42 over here. I need to say success over here, and success registering user. Finally, after I know that I'm successful registering a user, I'm going to say response status 200, meaning okay, and I'm going to send as a JSON. And actually, I'm not even going to send the whole user. We do not want the person to see the password, which is, even though it's going to be encrypted, I'm just going to send, and I'm going to send the ID. So I'm going to say person saved dot ID, like this. Good. Now let's run the server again. So node index success. I'm going to go to Postman. I hope we didn't close it. There it is. And we're going to register a user. Now I'm going to go post API persons register, but I need to put something into the body. The body is going to be row type JSON, and in the JSON I'm going to write email, right? So I need to have an email, and I'm going to put something here. It's going to be I love dogs and gmail.com. And here in the email part, we need to have this email. Good. And here I'm going to say password. So this is going to be password. And password is going to be 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. Let me just check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We missed over here. Good, there we go. And I'm sending it. Finally, I do receive an ID. If I come here, you're going to see that we have successfully registered a user. Now that is amazing, but if I do again the same thing with a different password, register, you're going to see that this is failing. And it's failing because we already have this email. As you can see, key pattern email 1, email does exist. And the email is I love dogs, gmail.com. Good. I'm going to, even though we have the different password. Now we have a user that is registered, right? Sorry for moving it so fast. I need to go to the DB and to actually check if this is correct. And for some reason, my DB is removed. So let me just go with Mongo DB over here and open up my cluster. I don't know why, but it had problems. Okay, sign in. Okay. Again, we have problems for some reason, but hopefully. Yeah, it is my fault because I closed it. I didn't have to close it, but good. Now we do have one connection again, and here you can see that we had 3 connections at some time. So the people are really liking my connection string. I'm going to go to browse collections, and I'm going to have a new collection. This new collection is going to be called people. And in people, you're going to see that I have one person with an email, I love dogs, Gmail, and with an encrypted password, which is very hard to understand. So this password has nothing to do with I love dogs. No, actually the password was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And as you can see here, is standing something completely different. All right, good. We did this, we managed to do this, which is great. And the ID is this thing over here. So this is we're returning, and we're returning the ID of the user that we created. If you roll back the video, you're going to see that in Postman, we received this string, right? Good. Now, when I actually register with this, when I have this registered, I do want to have the availability to actually log in. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to be starting a work on the API route of logging. Logging in is going to be, again, a router post, and I'm going to say router.post, and I'm going to say just /login. Again, it's going to be an asynchronous function, so request response in the async body. And again, we're not using a controller like we should, but I'm going to do this in other videos because it's a little bit more playing around. So I'm going to wrap everything in a try catch. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. And in the catch error, I'm going to console log this, and I'm actually going to copy this thing over here because I'm going to handle the error the same way. I'm going to fail, however, logging in with the user, right? I'm going to do this just so I can see what's happening for me. Good. So how are we actually going to do this? The first thing that we need to do is find a specific user. We have to find if this user actually exists. If it does not exist, we are not going to be able to log in with this user. So if it doesn't exist, it means that we are not storing it. We do not have it stored in the database, and it means that we have never really registered with this user. Or somebody stole our database and we fucked up. We screwed up, sorry. So const user is going to be equal to await, and here we said that we're working with persons. It's going to be await. Here I'm going to say person because this is my DB schema. And I'm going to say person.find1. And I'm going to be finding the email that corresponds to request.body.email. Right? So very simple. I'm actually going to find a person. If I have the person, everything is going to be fine. If we do not have the person, it means that we really cannot log in. So I'm going to check if not person, I'm going to console log, and I'm going to console log this thing over here because it's going to be an error. Failed, and I'm going to say user not found. Right? It means that we do not have the user. And whenever we're actually returning something to the client, I'm going to say response status 400, and I'm going to say wrong username or password. At this point of time, in this person, you already know that you have a wrong username. We know as the developers. However, the person shouldn't be able to tell and differentiate between usernames and passwords. We do not want to say, okay, you have a valid user, but your password is wrong. We're saying, you know, your username and your password are wrong, buddy, fix them. Because otherwise, people who are going to try to brute force our password, they're going to know that we have a valid user. And from now, you do not need to search for a user, you need to search for a password. So kind of shortens the time. Good. Else, however, it means that the person actually exists. Actually, do it like this. Wonderful. I'm going to now validate the password. So I'm going to say valid password. This is going to be equal to await. And I'm going to say decrypt.compare. And I'm going to be comparing the request.body.password with our user that we got. So in our case, this is going to be person.password. All right. Now let's think about this for a little while. Let's say that I give password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And let's say that this password was hashed. And the hash version is something like this. Good. Right. Now, in our case, we are going to receive a password and we're going to hash it using the same algorithm, right? It means that I should be getting this type of password. However, if I receive something wrong, so if I receive something like this, I'm going to create a new hash. So I'm going to use the old hash that I used here, but I'm going to result in a different value, and I'm going to have something like this. And for some reason, it doesn't work now, but I'm going to get this. And now we're going to know that this hashed value has nothing to do with this hash value. In fact, there are completely different values. They do not match, meaning that our plain text didn't match as well. So that's how I know if you entered the right password. Now I'm going to check if not valid password. I'm going to console log, and I'm actually going to do the same thing. We're saying wrong username or password. We're not saying wrong password. But here in our log, we can just say password is wrong. We can do that because nobody can read our logs. It's not a good way to do that. Now I'm doing it as a developer and as to show you, because we're doing a course, we're doing something like, we're doing a tutorial on YouTube. Everything should be, how do you say, transparent to you. You should be able to see everything. But in real life, this is not a good practice to do. Do not do console logs like this. First, you have to write them to the file, but we're going to see this in different videos as well. And else, it means that everything actually worked fine. So I'm just going to console log a success. Let's actually copy this. I'm going to console log with 42 success, logging in with a user. Logging in with a user. That is wonderful. And finally, what am I going to return? I'm going to return response status. I'm going to say 200. And I'm going to say JSON. I'm going to return the whole person that we actually have involved. And a little bit refactoring. There we go. Good, good. Now that is wonderful. And let's actually go and test it. So first, I'm going to open up Postman. I'm going to go here to register. And I already did register, so we know that this works. I'm going to change to login. And I'm going to provide a different password. So the password is just going to be this. Now I'm going to send, and you're going to see wrong username or password. However, in this case, you're going to see that the password is wrong because we found the username. However, the password didn't match. Let's say that we have the right password. I think it was this, and I'm going to say I love dogs too. I'm going to try to log in. Again, I get wrong username or password, but here you're going to see that the user is not found. Well, pretty much nobody has registered with I love dogs too. However, if I remove the dog2 and I put everything the way it should be, I'm going to send, and you're going to see that I received the whole user now, meaning that everything worked successfully and I'm currently logged in as a user. Of course, in other tutorials that I'm going to do in the channel, we're going to be returning a token, then we're going to access stuff with this JSON token. But for now, we know that we're logging in with a user, which is wonderful. Currently, we are logged in with a user and we can do stuff, right? I'm going to allow you to do stuff if you are a valid user. The other thing that we have to finish now is the OpenAI stuff. The OpenAI stuff are going to be not a bit tricky, but we're going to have a little bit more work to do here. And yeah, let's actually see how we're going to do the OpenAI. All right, before we write anything here into the OpenAI part, I'm going to show you and acquaint you. I want you to get acquainted with OpenAI. OpenAI is what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be using for an AI model. And here, all you need to do, again, it's completely free for now. OpenAI is going to allow you to create an account. And once you actually have an account, as you can see, I person over here, I'm going to go view API keys. Then I'm going to create new secret key, and boom, this is going to be my key. Of course, I'm going to remove this key because I do not want you to do stuff into the OpenAI space with my key, but I'm going to copy it and you're going to see that I have the key right over here. All right, good. Now I'm not going to read it from a file because I already showed you how to do that. I'm just going to go here and state it as a variable. I'm going to do the following. OpenAI in routes. I'm going to say const router is going to be equal to a require. You're going to require express.router. And again, do not forget to actually export it. So we're going to say module.exports, and we're going to be exporting our router. All right, wonderful. Let's put it a little bit down. And let's actually create our file here. I'm going to say API key. And actually, I'm going to say API key like this. And I'm going to put it over here on top. Again, you want to read this from an environment file or from a text file. It's not going to be passed around just like that because this is important. Now I'm going to say const. I'm going to give configuration. Oh, and we need to import OpenAI. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say npm install, and I'm going to install OpenAI, just like this. So let's press enter. Let's wait for it a little bit. And I guess we can start while we're waiting. Oh yeah, it actually finished very quickly. Okay. So let's actually say const configuration and OpenAI API from, are going to be equal to require, and we're going to be requiring open. However, this doesn't seem to work. Oh, there we go. Boom, there we go. So we're going to go get configuration and OpenAI. And actually, I do not know why these are so bad over here with this bad red color. I can hardly read them. But we are going to need configuration in OpenAI, and you're going to see why. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my API key into the configuration. I'm going to say const configuration. This is going to be equal to a new configuration. There we go, like this. And here I'm going to say API key. As you can see, the IntelliSense is working. And I'm going to give my API key just like that. So there we go.
Currently, I do have my API key, and whenever I'm actually entering or doing some query, I am putting my own key, and you're going to be putting your own key as your account here into the API key. After that, I'm going to say const OpenAI, AI, just like this, are going to be equal to new OpenAI API, and I'm going to be passing configuration. I'm going to be passing this configuration that I created over here, and just like this. In the configuration, I put my API key, which is my personal thing, and then I'm going to use a new OpenAI API because I need to create a new instance of the API, and I'm passing there my own configuration that has my API key. All right, wonderful. From now on, it's actually fairly decent. We're going to post, so I'm going to say post, and I'm going to go with generate image as a router. I'm going to go async, so request response, of course. And let's do it like this, a little bit factoring. So here I'm going to wrap everything in try catch again. And I'm going to need to get my console logs right over here. And in the error phase, I'm going to do a little bit of error checking because this is going to be important. So I'm going to say if error.response, there we go. I'm going to say console log error. Oops. Let's actually say error here because that's how I like to write it. Error.response.status. And here I spelled it wrong. There you go. Then I'm going to say console log error.response.data. And if we do not have this response, I'm going to put it into an else statement, and I'm going to say console log error.message. Now, I'm doing this because we are taking a different type of error from the OpenAPI. And I know this just by playing around, but of course, feel free to not be so extensive. I just want to know what the problem is, and I needed this while I was debugging. That's why I just decided to, just put it over there like this. Finally, I'm going to take this, because I said that I'm going to be taking it, and I'm going to put it over here. So after the else statement, all I'm going to do is I'm going to console log failed. I'm going to paint it red. So I'm going to paint it red with this 41 over here. Very important. And I'm going to say failed. And here, it's not going to be logging into a user, it's going to be generating an image because my code is based on generating images. Finally, I'm just going to return the error over here to the client. Of course, it's not called error, it's called error. Good, and I'm going to be failing. What I'm going to be failing? I'm going to be failing generating an image. There you go. And I think that's it. Finally, what we need to do is write this try block. And let me just put it a little bit like this. Okay, I think that's okay. All right, what are we going to do into the try? I'm going to say response. So I'm going to say const response is going to be equal to await our OpenAI dot create image. As you can see, this is a function right over here. We need to give it a couple of things. So the first one is the size, how many images we want, and of course the prompt. Prompt is going to be, prompt is going to be what you have typed. So, you can type, I want a blue dog with a red hat, something like this. This is going to come from request body.image text. After that, I'm going to say, all right, I want one photo, and the size is going to be 256, 256, 256. There you go, something like this. Of course, if you want a bigger photos, and bigger are actually going to be better, they're going to be better looking, but I'm going to stick with small ones because I want to do some fancy stuff with my UI, and I just want it to be looking a little bit better. Good. What we need to do now is to actually take the image. So I'm going to say image URL, and the image URL is going to come from the response.data.data.url. There we go. Now we do have an image URL. All I really need to do is to send this image URL, and I'm going to say status is going to be 200 because we finished okay, and I'm going to send the image URL as JSON data. Of course, the final part is to console log that we are actually successful. So here I'm going to say console log, and we have success. Here we have 42 because we want this to be 42 in order to be green. Here we're going to have success.
what have we succeeded at generating image. I usually keep them same calls. And of course, finally, I'm going to return as a JSON data the image URL because the client can now render a photo. And that's pretty much it. So clear node module, oops, what was it? Node index, there we go. Server started, Mongo DB connected, and now we can actually go and generate image. Now I can test it out, I guess. What do we need? Image text. I think that the only thing that we need is image text, something like this. Image text, there we go. And the image is going to be a blue dog with a red hat. And I do not need the password. I'm not going to post at API persons logging. Oh yeah, there we go. So you catch me over here. We're not using this router. So we're currently exporting it, but we're not using it. And in order for us to use it, we need to go to index.js. So we're going to go here, and in the application.use, we are going to use our new route. In our case, it's going to be /API / it's not going to be persons anymore. It's going to be OpenAI. That's something that I like to do. You can call this something like this, OpenAI, and I am going to use OpenAI route. Of course, in order for me to use OpenAI route, first I need to import it over here. So I can say const OpenAI route is going to be equal to require, and I'm going to be requiring routes and OpenAI. There we go. Currently, everything should be working. So let's restart the server. Let's go now to our, what was it? There we go. And I think that I can say post local API open AI over here, and it was going to be, what was going to be generating image. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it over here. It's going to be a post method. So let's actually see sending request, and you can see that we have got some stuff. And here's the URL. And actually, you can open this. Oh no! You have to. Can I just copy this? Is it going to work? Message not allowed to get. Perhaps you want to use a different HTTP method. Yeah, well, we cannot see it now, but we're going to be able to. And if I go over here, oh, that's why we cannot see it. Let's see what the problem is. So billing hard limit reached. What? Okay. All right, I didn't expect this. Let me see now. All right, now I see that I have actually used it a lot, and probably I have to wait a little bit. You can see that somebody had the same issue, billing hard limit reach, the same thing that we have over here, meaning that we have to go to the paid account now because we do not have any credits left. And yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait a little bit, and I'm going to try again to see if it's going to work out, because I think that we have just reached to a point of limit, and we're not going to be able to call it at the moment. So yeah, it's always good to see these issues in hand. That's why I'm recording them. We're going to wait a little bit and then see what we can do. But obviously, if you are not going to use a paid account like me, and you're going to do it for testing purposes or for tutorials, you are going to stumble upon errors like this, because you cannot just make a lot of queries. I obviously did a lot of queries during testing, and that is why we have reached the billing hard limit. So let's give it a little bit of time together, and we're going to see what we're going to do. While we're doing that, we can say that we have successfully finished this part of the router post, because here we can see that everything worked fine. But the whole idea is that once we actually tried to do an image, we have reached the limit of 3 images for a day. So we can successfully say that we have successfully built that. I cannot talk, sorry about that. And we are going to move to the client side next. Thank you for watching, and yeah, let's actually see how the client will handle